There are places in this world where morning does not arrive with the sound of traffic. It arrives with the sound of cowbells. Here, in a valley somewhere in the Alps, the sun has to climb over 3 ridges before it reaches the rooftops. The mist still lies across the meadows, thick and white, like a blanket somebody forgot to fold. The air is cold and clean, and it smells of wet grass and pine. Then, from somewhere up the slope, a bell rings out. Then a second. Then a third. The cows have woken before the people. This is Switzerland. Not the Switzerland of expensive watches and quiet banks. This is the Switzerland of farmers who rise at 5 in the morning, of villages with 400 residents, and of a rhythm of life the rest of the world left behind a long time ago. In the barn, the lights are already on. The farmer begins his day the way his ancestors began theirs, for hundreds of years, with the milking. The only difference now is that a machine helps. The cows stand still, chewing hay, breathing white clouds into the cold air. Milk from these mountains is richer than milk from anywhere else. The reason is simple. The herds graze on high meadows where dozens of grasses and wildflowers grow tangled together. People say you can taste the flowers in a wheel of cheese made from summer milk. When the barn is done, he steps outside, checks the fences, checks the water trough, splits a little more firewood. Nobody here is in a hurry. But nobody here is idle either. Those are 2 entirely different things. The village sits lower down, beside a stream. Wooden houses with steep roofs, balconies spilling over with red geraniums, the flower that has become a kind of signature of every alpine village. The Swiss do not plant them to show off. They plant them because their grandparents planted them. And because an empty balcony looks sad. In the middle of the village stands a stone fountain. The water runs all day and all night, never shut off. And you can drink it. Once, this was where the whole village drew water and watered its horses. It is still here. Still running, like a habit nobody thought to break. The bakery opens at 6:30. The smell of fresh bread drifts to the end of the street. A few people stop in, greet each other by first name, trade a few words about the weather, about a new grandchild, about the cow that went lame last week. Then the yellow postal bus appears around the bend. It runs on time, precise to the minute, and it will carry the children to the school in the next village. On the narrow curves cut into the mountainside, it sounds its 3-note horn, a little melody every Swiss child knows by heart. But the real story of the Swiss countryside is up there, higher still. Every year in late spring, once the snow has melted from the meadows at 1,500, 2,000 meters, the herds are driven up the mountain. This journey has its own meaning, its own rituals. And it has happened without interruption for centuries. Up there stand small wooden huts, plain and spare. Few comforts. Sometimes no electricity at all. The herdsman will live there for 3 months of summer, alone or with his family, among the clouds and the rock and the sound of the wind. And he makes cheese. The milk goes into a great copper cauldron over a wood fire. He stirs it steadily by hand, judging the temperature by experience rather than by any instrument. Out of that cauldron, hours later, comes a single round wheel weighing tens of kilograms. It is pressed, salted, then laid on wooden shelves in a cool cellar, where it waits for months, sometimes for years. Nothing in this process can be shortened. It simply cannot. Time is an ingredient here, the same as milk and salt. Down in the valley, July is the haymaking season. The slopes here are so steep that large machinery cannot reach them. In many places, the grass is still cut with small machines, and in some places still by hand. It dries in the sun, turned over and over, then baled and carried into the barn. That hay is what feeds the herd through the long winter ahead. Beside the house, the firewood is stacked, and you will notice something immediately. It is stacked with extraordinary care. Every log the same length, cut ends facing outward, lined up as though someone measured them. The Swiss have a precision about such things that seems almost instinctive. In the garden behind the house, the vegetables are up. Carrots, lettuce, beans, a few rows of strawberries. On the tree, the apples are beginning to turn.
Strange.
And along the roadside,
Very
now
strange.
and then, you will come across a small wooden cabinet. Inside are eggs, honey, or a bunch of flowers cut that morning. There is no one selling, only a price list and an open box for the money. You take what you want. You leave your coins. You walk on. That is all there is to it. And it has worked this way for generations. The afternoon turns the light to honey. The shadow of the mountain stretches out across the meadow. The herd comes down. The bells sound again, slower this time, wearier. In the kitchen, supper is being made. Perhaps potatoes crisped in a pan. Perhaps melted cheese scraped over boiled potatoes and pickles. Country food. Filling and warm. And then comes Sunday. In much of rural Switzerland, Sunday is a day of quiet. No mowing, no drilling, no noise. It is partly a rule and partly an unspoken agreement between neighbors. Today, all of us get to rest. People walk in the forest. They sit on a bench and look out over the valley. They stop at the village inn for a few hands of cards with the same old friends. The church bell marks the hours, steady, unchanging. Then summer ends. One day in September, the cows are brought down from the mountain. But not quietly. This is the biggest celebration of the year. The lead cow, the one that gave the most milk that summer, is crowned with flowers. The herdsmen wear embroidered traditional dress. The great bells come out. The ones kept only for this occasion, deep and resonant, echoing off the rock face. The whole village lines the road to watch. There is music, there is cake, there is cider. The children run alongside the herd the entire way down. This is how people say thank you to a summer that has ended and steady themselves for the winter that is coming. Life here is not easy. The work is heavy, the winters are long, and the number of small farms grows smaller every year as the young leave the village for the cities. But those who stay, stay. They still rise at 5. They still stack their firewood perfectly straight. They still drive the herd up the mountain each summer. and his grandfather did, and his grandfather before him. Not because they do not know what the wider world has to offer, but because they have already chosen